It's a fill-in-the-blank Friday here on Locked On Blue Devils. We've got a lot of things to discuss. Duke in the NBA, fill-in-the-blank edition. Who's the best pure shooter that's come from Duke? We answer those questions and so much more on today's show.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson, and it's so great to have you here with us on this Friday, September 22nd, 2023. Hope that you're doing well. Locked On Blue Devils is your daily one-stop shop discussing everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. On today's show, it's a fill-in-the-blank Friday. We've got questions, Duke in the NBA edition, that our listeners submitted to me. And I've got my buddy Jordan Mann here with me to kind of go through these. It's going to be a fun conversation. As always, we want you to take part in that as well down in the comment section below. You can subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever you get your podcast. Also, make sure that you watch us on YouTube each and every day, as your support of the program means so much to us. Follow us on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils, and I'm on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. So without further ado, I'm thrilled to bring on my good friend Jordan Mann, who runs at Duke FB Fans on Twitter. He's also a basketball junkie. At Coach J Man is where you can see more of his basketball takes and so much more. Jordan, what an honor to have you back once again on the show here, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. This is the third time I've been on and third different location you've been at. So this has been an awesome experience, and I'm excited to talk some Duke basketball this time.
Yeah, the backdrop always changes up on me from time to time. I got to keep people on their toes, that's for sure. So I want to do some fill in the blank here. I want to talk basketball because here we are, Jordan. We're in the heart of a football season, off to a quick start, 3-0 for the Blue Devils. So fired up and excited about that. And you and I are going to keep talking about this football team in the days and weeks to come. But, buddy, on Monday, the basketball season starts. First official practice for college basketball. We've got NBA training camps set to get started in the next 10 days. Media days for the NBA will be in a few weeks, and the preseason gets going. I mean, all of a sudden, it's about time for us to play some hoops.
Oh, yeah, and what better way to kick off the college basketball season than Cooper Flagg visiting UConn when Duke is in the away team. So if Duke beats UConn with Cooper in attendance and he commits to Duke, Mike Elko's the reason why.
Yeah, give him all the credit. That's right. We love that. So with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about Duke in the NBA. We've got some fill-in-the-blank topics that we want to discuss. I'm going to give everybody an overview of who all is in the league because it's kind of astounding each and every year to think about all these guys that Duke has had now playing in the National Basketball Association. But just growing up in the state, being a Duke fan, hasn't it been just the greatest feeling? We've got our own favorite teams. You and I both love LeBron and what he's up to in his professional career, but there are just Duke guys everywhere in the league.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny I'm obviously, I live in Charlotte and I'm a Hornets fan, but when you go to a Hornets game, last year I went to the Celtics, Tatum's there, half the place is cheering MVP, half of them are booing. And basically anytime a Duke player plays in Charlotte, they get booed, and you just got to respect it. You just got to respect it. And there's a ton of the guys in the league, so it's awesome to see.
Let's go through it. Kyrie Irving with the Dallas Mavericks, Jason Tatum with the Celtics, Brandon Ingram on the Pelicans, Mason Plumlee on the Clippers, RJ Barrett Knicks, Seth Curry Mavs, Gary Trent Jr. Raptors, Tyus Jones Wizards, Luke Kennard Grizzlies, Wendell Carter Jr. Magic, Zion Williamson Pelicans, Marvin Bagley III Pistons, Grayson Allen Bucks, Cam Reddish Lakers, Paolo Banchero Magic, Trey Jones Spurs, Harry Giles Nets, AJ Griffin Hawks, Jalen Johnson Hawks, Mark Williams Hornets, Wendell Moore Jr. Timberwolves, Jack White Thunder, and the two rookies, Derek Lively the second for the Mavs, and Tariq Whitehead for the Nets. I'm worried I would forget somebody as we get the rundown there. Austin Rivers still has yet to be signed officially, but at 31, he's likely to get a veteran minimum deal at some point. There really are just Duke basketball players all over the place for this upcoming season.
Yeah, basketball players and then coaches and then executives. I mean, Duke and the commissioner literally is a Duke guy. So Duke runs the NBA.
Yeah, let that be known. Duke, in fact, does run the NBA. So your first visit on the show, we did some fill-in-the-blank football topics as we were looking at some season predictions. Now we're going to do some NBA discussions here as well. So speaking of a couple of guys that were 2019 recruits, our first two players that we're going to talk about here today, Zion Williamson will play blank games this year. This was sent to us via email, lockedonbluedevils@gmail.com. Anytime you have mailbag questions or fill in the blank topic ideas, we want to hear from you. So Zion Williamson will play blank games this year.
Well, Zion seemed to have a pretty quiet offseason. But I think Zion, and all jokes aside, I think he heard the noise about his injuries and obviously what's happened in the offseason. I'm going to say, I'm still going to be a little timid. I'm going to say 60 games. I'm going to sit right at 60. He'll miss still some, but 60 would be a good starting point.
60 would be awesome if Zion could get there. 82-game season. I don't think anyone thinks he jumps to that number. The injury concerns are so scary. And I was never somebody who was all aboard hey, he's got to lose all this weight, because I'm just watching him that one season at Duke. And I'm like, clearly he's making it work. And you're not telling me it's that big of a jump for the just number one overall pick to make that leap to the league. When he has played, he's been incredible. He's already made an all-star team in his NBA career. But yet here we are, a few years into his career, and he really has kind of struggled with injuries, and a lot of people do, in fact, directly point to the weight that he's carrying around. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we never know what's really behind closed doors. He has been injured, but the Pelicans have been bad, especially when he first started, to where were they keeping him safe keepings because they didn't want to risk it since they're already having a bad year, and he could have came back, but they were just like, hey, just sit it out. You still have next year. I feel like he kind of had the Joel Embiid treatment. I mean, Embiid missed a ton of games his first 3 years, and then you've seen what he's doing now. And he's a lot more coordinated than Embiid. Embiid still to this day just falls on the ground every time he lays the ball up. So I think Zion will be okay. And as long as he doesn't lose that explosiveness, I think he'll be fine.
So you look at Zion's career so far, 24 games his rookie season, 61 games as an all-star in 2020, 2021. Did not play at all in the 21-22 season, and then played 29 games also an all-star. So two-time all-star already in his young career. But he has only played 114 games across 4 seasons. Some numbers there for folks. So honestly, a little bold on your part going for 60.
I know. Swinging.
Keep swinging, because I want that to happen, Jordan. I really do want him to play 60 games. I think I would go closer to the 45 mark. I think would be great if you could get Zion back 45 games this year, make an impact, remind people who you are, and hopefully you can build off of that in the years to come. So we'll see exactly how that one plays out. These are tough predictions to make because we've got a long way to go to realize whether or not they're going to become true or not. So, although to be fair, we could get to January and he's already missed 30 some odd games. And it's like, well, Jordan, I hate to break it to you. He's not playing 60 this season.
Do not follow my bets. Do not follow my bets.
All right, next up, Cam Reddish needs blank to be successful in the NBA. Talk about another player who came into the draft in the 2019 NBA draft. A lottery pick, not number one like Zion, not even number 3 like RJ, but Cam Reddish, someone you and I both really love, about to play his first season for the Lakers. What does he need to be successful in the NBA?
So Cam has been, obviously since Duke in high school, his talent's always been there. But the one thing about Cam that always drove me crazy watching him at Duke and what's been a struggle for him in the NBA has been his motor. He needs to find that motor. And I think he can find that motor being on the Lakers with LeBron being the coach on the floor. Because if you can't make it work as a spot-up guy for LeBron, then your days in the league are numbered. I mean, literally James Jones, gave him a career just sitting in the corner shooting threes. Cam is talented. He just needs to have that motor, and he'll be fine.
I was in the same boat as you. I love find a motor. That's great. Mine was Cam Reddish needs to listen to every single word LeBron says. Every single, even someone, Anthony Davis, like the stars in the league that he's been around. You look at Cam Reddish in his career so far in the association. I mean, you look at the level of players that he's been around. This is his moment to really be around some superstar type players, getting to play for a really good Lakers team. Hopefully he doesn't get buried too deep on the bench like we've seen throughout his career. Although a season ago, remember the first game of the season for the Knicks playing alongside R.J. Barrett, I want Duke fans to remember Cam Reddish hit like a game winner or a big shot really late in that game to send it into overtime. And you thought, wait a minute, maybe he's going to kind of turn it around and have an impactful season. Then he gets buried in Tibbs' doghouse, and things just weren't that easy for Cam Reddish the rest of the way. But, hopefully he's able to listen to every single word LeBron says.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go. Listen to LeBron. Trust me.
I love that. All right, fill in the blank, Duke in the NBA edition. We continue these after our first time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Jace Medical. Once again, I want to tell you all about the Jace case, providing 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jace case is to fill out a simple online form, and in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of our board-certified physicians. Get ongoing care from our physicians on any treatment-related questions. Doctor created, doctor recommended. Don't be caught unprepared. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Right now, you could save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout, jacemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com. We move forward here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson alongside my pal Jordan Mann. We're taking a look at some fill-in-the-blank topics for Duke in the NBA. I ask you this, blank is the most underrated Duke player in the league. Now, I think there are several answers to go for here.
I've went back and forth on this.
Okay.
And so
did you crowdsource? Did you need to have other people throw ideas off of anybody?
I kind of went with my brother. I was like going back and forth on him. But I'm going to say Luke Kennard. I think is underrated.
Okay.
Yeah. So Luke, like when he was with the Clippers, he was a sniper that came off the bench and was an efficient three-point shooter. And then says a lot about a role player like that to get traded to another playoff contender of the Grizzlies at the trade deadline and play with the Grizzlies. And he shot lights out with the Grizzlies. And I think you're going to see him really step into another lane as a shooter for them, kind of like how JJ was with the Clippers in that tenure when they were very special, Lob City. So I wanted to go Gary Trent at first, but Gary Trent's kind of been the man now with Toronto. But I'm going to go with Luke Kennard. Yeah.
So I was not as much Luke Kennard. Gary Trent Jr. was someone absolutely at the forefront of my thought process. I want to give Seth Curry some love, man, because I don't feel like he gets enough of it.
That's a good one.
Being Steph Curry's younger brother, right? But what he has done, making a career for himself from Liberty to 3 years at Duke, foot injuries as he's exiting Duke and going into the NBA, having to work through the G League, 10-day contract after 10-day contract. And now what does he do, Jordan? But every single year, he's shooting like nearly 50% from three-point range, one of the most accurate shooters in the league, and playing crunch time minutes for whatever team he's on. He is so good, and just because he doesn't put up the numbers I think that his brother does, they see a Curry out there. He's held to such a high standard, and he lives up to it, man. I mean, he is money.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I think Seth is one of the most underrated scorers in Duke basketball history. Like people don't realize, people forgot that he averaged like 20 a game his last year at Duke, and he didn't practice because his shin was hurting him that bad. He just literally went out for game days and scored 20 a game. It was all ACC. Like that's crazy efficient and crazy talent. So that's a great pick. Yeah.
I'm looking at our fill in the blanks here. We'll talk about a lot of different players for the Blue Devils because I'm realizing this might be similar answers here, the order in which we've kind of pulled these out. So the next one is this, blank is the best pure shooter from Duke in the NBA currently.
Yeah, so that is why I tied my previous one to Luke Kennard, because when he was traded or with the Grizzlies, went to the Grizzlies, he broke the 3-point record for Memphis. I mean, he was 10 of 11 in the game from three, and he had 30 points. Like, the guy shot like 47, 48% from three last year. And yeah, he has a clip on him, and it's such a pretty shot to be left-handed. So I got to say Luke Kennard.
As a lefty myself, I'm going to get behind you on this one because, man, he makes it look good shooting it with the left hand. But then we think back to his high school quarterback days there in Franklin, Ohio, and he plays quarterback right-handed, which is just so unbelievable. So many guys are like that. They, as a basketball player, they decide to shoot with what you would deem to be their offhand. So I'm your traditional lefty that does every single thing in my life left-handed, but shout out to Luke Kennard with that left-handed jump shot because it's absolutely pure.
Yeah, I agree. It's the prettiest left-handed shot I've seen.
So who else is in this conversation, though? We're going to give the best pure shooter from Duke in the NBA to Luke Kennard. Who else is there?
I mean, you got to, like, Gary Trent's one. Gary Trent, he has such a beautiful jump shot. I mean, he can shoot it. Seth has that little sliding push shot. That's a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
And you got to bring up Kyrie.
I was curious if we'd give him some love. Yeah.
Kyrie, man, he's basketball, like, what, off the field, off the court, whatever. Kyrie is a god on the basketball court when the ball is in his hand. So got to give him respect.
And how about the percentages that we've seen from Grayson Allen the last few years? Not really known for that three-point shot as much at Duke, but in the NBA, Jordan, like, goodness gracious, some of the percentages he's walking away with.
Yeah, Grayson's another good example. He made a living being a spot-up guy, and he's doing a very good job of knocking them down. I mean, that's how you make your contracts. If you're not a star player, you got to be the guy that hits the corner jumper on the driving kick in the NBA. You got to be efficient.
Duke in the NBA, fill in the blank. Let us know if you have any other answers to these questions. Let's move on to our next one, and we'll do that after our final timeout here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. That's right, it's football season, and if you're looking to make the best bets on your Sunday, you need to check out our friends over at FanDuel. Snap into the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, then there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options available, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Moving forward here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside my pal Jordan Mann at Coach J Man on Twitter. All right, moving on. Fill in the blank. Duke in the NBA edition. Blank is who you would want to start a franchise with from Duke right now.
I mean, I kind of low-hanging fruit, but it got to be Tatum. Jason Tatum, he's 25. I mean, he's still in his prime. And
but it's still wild to think about that this man's just 25 years old.
Yeah, like the dude averaged 39 and 5 last year, and he's 25 years old. And we're talking about Luke Kennard having a beautiful left hand. If his secondary player, Jaylen Brown, ever had a left hand, then maybe they'd win an NBA title. But Tatum – give me Tatum, because that's guaranteed 8 years right there that he's the #1 guy.
If it's not Tatum, who is it? Because I think it is Tatum. I'm just curious who has the best argument.
Oh, you're going to put me
We're
on.
Starting a franchise. I still think you could go Kyrie. I really think that this is going to be a Kyrie that's, recently in news. We've seen his new footwear line with Anta kind of premiere. Seems like he's really resetting, signs the new deal with the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know. It might be Kyrie for me.
Yeah, Kyrie, I can see that.
He is older. He is older is the one concern, though.
If I'm a small market team like this guy is on, then Paulo Banchero is my second.
Paulo's another great choice. Yeah.
If I'm the if the Hornets have Paulo right now, I'm like, the future's bright for the next 12 years instead of our offseason that we're currently having with the Hornets. But that's who I'd probably put second, because he does have untapped potential. He did an incredible rookie year, and I can't wait to watch him for his year 2.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Let's talk about this for a second, though. As you mentioned, Duke in the NBA headlines, just for people to keep up with. In Charlotte specifically, last year, we had Mason Plumlee and Mark Williams there as big men. Mason Plumlee gets traded out to the Clippers. Mark Williams really takes over. I think he's an amazing frontline player to sort of build your to have featured on your team. Kai Jones apparently has not been the biggest mark. What is going on there in Charlotte? If people haven't seen this, kind of catch us up to speed on this.
Kai Jones just needs to stop getting on Instagram Live and just go to the gym. And he's not only going after Mark Williams, he's talking about he has a better field goal percentage than LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier. And I'm like, yes, that's what happens when all you can do is dunk the basketball. You're 60% from the field. But yeah, I don't know the unnecessary shot he took at Mark Williams. And Mark had a hilarious Instagram story of 50 Cent like pointing at himself, like, why are you mad at me? So, if Kai Jones gets out, because there's no telling what the Hornets are doing, because obviously, but Mark Williams had a really good year last year, and those minutes are going to open up for him because he's already been a defensive stopper. If he can prove it on offense, the sky's the limit for him.
He's only a rookie. I mean, he just finished his rookie season. So another year coming here. Lobs from LaMelo. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of those this upcoming season, which will be a whole lot of fun for Hornets fans like you and I. So, all right, our last one that we've got here today. And again, we want you to comment down below on these. If you're watching us on YouTube, comment. If you're listening to the podcast, send us your thoughts on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils. Blank just needs more minutes to show what he can do.
You ready for this one, JJ?
I'm ready for this one.
Wendell Carter Jr. is the guy for me.
Okay.
He averaged 15 and 9 last year on very high efficient field goal percentage. But the problem is he's playing 30 minutes a game. If he could get 6 more minutes a game, 8 more minutes a game, every year since he's been in the league, his numbers improved drastically. Every year, it's just incrementally improved. His 3-point percentage, he shot 36% from 3 last year. He came in the league, He shot 18%. So he's doubled it. If he plays more than 29 minutes a game like he did this past year, how fun of a tandem is that with Paulo Banchero and Wendell Carter in Orlando? So he can score the ball. He just needs more minutes.
What about Tyus Jones? This is, because I think we talked about him a lot these past few seasons with the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
2 years ago, the Grizzlies are something crazy like 21-2, 22-2 in games that Ja Morant didn't play because Tyus Jones takes over. His assist to turnover ratio has been one of the best in the NBA. Now he gets moved to the Wizards this offseason, and I think it's a chance for him to really, really get more minutes. What do you think of that argument?
Yeah, I think he will get those minutes. I think Tyus has been a heck of a backup point guard in the league and a very solid point guard, but I think that he kind of already has his ceiling, if you know what I mean. Like, I think what you got last year, 10 and 5, I think when he goes,
that's who he is. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of who he is. And the Wizards are obviously, I'm not going to say tanking, but they're not one of the best in the league. It's going to be good for him to get minutes. If he could go up to if he had 15 and 7, that'd be a really impressive year, and I'd eat my words. But Tyus, the one thing those Jones brothers do, man, they do not turn the ball over. They are the best point guards for your system to get quality possessions. So I'm a fan of that one, though, too.
And if we could circle it all the way back towards the top, we're just talking about Cam Reddish, what exactly does he need to kind of revitalize his career or to be successful in the NBA is how we worded it. Maybe more minutes could kind of factor into that Cam Reddish equation.
Yeah, he obviously was on the bad side of Tom Thibodeau, and once you get on the bad side of him, you're never going to see minutes. And so, for better or for worse, right or wrong, that just happened to him in New York. But I think that's the best way he can get minutes is earning the trust of LeBron, and like we talked about, and he does that, then that's the right step in the direction that needs to be.
Duke in the NBA, fill in the blank here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils alongside my good buddy Jordan Mann. All right, promote your work, man. Tell everybody what all you've got going on these days.
Yeah, so I got a podcast of my own. It's the Big J and Little J Show. You can find us on Spotify and iTunes on Apple Podcasts, but it's a podcast where we talk about Duke football right now, currently in season, and then me and my co-host Connor O'Neill, and we talk about Duke basketball once the season tips off. So it's another season, baby, and we're looking forward to it.
Check it all out. That's outstanding. Well, Jordan, as always, the time is greatly appreciated. I look forward to talking to you again soon here on the show, okay?
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, that's Jordan Mann joining us here on today's show. Again, Duke in the NBA, fill in the blank. Please comment down below what you think. Zion Williamson will play blank games this year. Cam Reddish needs blank to be successful in the NBA. Blank is the most underrated Duke player in the league. Blank is the best pure shooter from Duke in the NBA. Blank is who you would start a franchise with from Duke right now. And blank just needs more minutes to show what he can do. We want to hear from you on what you think the answers are to those topics. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you. My name is JJ Jackson. We'll be back here soon. Thank you and good day.